Hello, thank you for joining me. Today, I'm going to get into a bit of a discussion on how to take a nib that we sell for the TWSBI Mini fountain pen as a replacement nib. We're going to talk about how to get this onto this, which is not a TWSBI Mini, but rather a TWSBI Eco. And this is one of the most popular starter pens, or all fountain pens right now. A lot of folks have these, and a lot of folks are curious as to how they can get a new nib for them. And this is the way you buy a nib for the TWSBI Mini. Even though it doesn't say for the Eco, this can go on to the Eco just fine. It just requires a little bit more than it would if you were to install this into a TWSBI Mini. So let's get into it. First of all, let's just play imagination here, and I am Mr. Drew Brown here at the Goulet Pen Company, and I have a medium TWSBI Eco, and I just can't stand it. I want a broad, so I'm going to buy a nib unit for a TWSBI Mini fountain pen, and it's going to come in this little thing here, which is probably more interesting than you might think. So it is indeed a nib carrier. It has the grip, the whole grip section of the TWSBI Mini already there. So if you have a TWSBI Mini, great, you're in great shape. All you need to do is just unscrew this and screw this right onto your pen. However, we're not going to be doing that because we don't have a TWSBI Mini. We've got an Eco. One fun thing you might not know about the rest of this piece, though, is that it's got a second threaded unit here, that if you pull this out, if you pull this out, I said, there we go. If you pull this out, you'll see that it is, it's got some ridges here and a thread. And if you have a TWSBI 580 like this guy, and I might say, you know what, I want to take this nib off for some reason, but yet I've got ink in here I don't want to lose. You can take this little thing and thread it right on, and it is a plug. A lot of folks don't know that, but it certainly is. So anyway, that's not why we're here. We're here because of this. So you've got an Eco here without a removable nib unit. This thing is attached to the barrel. You cannot take that off, and please don't try, because you might hurt yourself, and I don't want that. So what we're going to need to do is actually just take the nib and feed on the section here and take that out, and we're just going to switch the nib and feed. We're not going to be messing around with any grip sections. The only thing we're going to be doing is taking it off. So this plastic collar can come right off. It's just kind of friction fit on there, so we can discard that. We don't need that. And now we're going to remove the nib from this replacement unit. One thing I will say, and I cannot say this enough, is that the fins on the nib units here, on all TWSBIs, are pretty flimsy. So they do their job just fine, but if you grab them and you pull too hard, these things will collapse like, you know, a row of dominoes. You don't want it because they do help with flow. Your pen can operate without them, but it won't operate as well. So a lot of pens, you can grab these and they're sturdy enough for you to just yank them right out. However, with these, it is suggested by the manufacturer that any nib removal occur with your fingers on the sides rather than right on top of the fins like that. You can use a grip of some sort. We do sell them here at the store, or you can just use your fingers like I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to grip it as low as possible away from the tines. You don't want to get near those because that's where you can get misalignments happening. So I'm going to bring my fingers all the way down as close to the neck of the unit as I can, and I'm going to actually pinch and use the leverage on this collar here to kind of help me remove the feed. I'm going to You can also give it a little bit of a wiggle, not like bending it, but just like almost like you're vibrating your fingers a little bit. But I'm just going to use that leverage to pull very, very slowly. And as I'm removing it, I'm choking my fingers up more and more and more so I can get farther and farther away from that nib, as you can see. And there it goes. It pops right out. So it was a bit of force was required. And you can see I've got a little indentation on my finger there. But it is out, and we are good to go now. You can also notice that the nib itself is seated in a keyed position on the feed. So some nibs and feeds don't have any sort of positional keying, but this one does. So what I mean by that is that there are notches right here that lock it into place when it's in the right position. So if you're wondering, do I have it right? You can fit it right within these rails, and it should have a nice hard stop there. And that's when you know that you've got it where you want it. and it's ready to be inserted. So we have to do the same thing with the old nib now, and I will use the exact same strategy and just grab it by the sides. This one's a lot easier. This one's already coming. Oh yeah, that one was super easy. And that's just going to happen. Some of them are going to be pretty tight. Some of them are not going to be pretty tight. If you do have a tight one, I can say that our customer care team here at the Goulet Pen Company has found a lot of success in recommending that folks put their pen in the refrigerator for a half hour or so to tighten things up a little bit, or not tighten things, loosen things up a little bit. It brings the plastic closer together, it contracts it a little bit, so it makes these things a lot easier to remove. So that's a great trick, and it'll work across several pens as well. So, because that's what cold does. So going back to the nibs, here's the old one, here's the new one. You can use either of these feeds. There are the exact same feeds. So all the things we have here are compatible with each other. But just, for the heck of it, I'm going to use the new feed and the new nib. Excuse me. And we are going to install that. So again, what I'm going to do is line up the top of the nib, or line up the nib with the top of the feed right in that keyed position like I showed you. Not like that. That's going to go over that side rail. You can see it right there. That's where I want my nib to be. And you should feel a hard stop. It shouldn't really shift left to right, and it definitely shouldn't go too far back. So once I've got that in there, nice and tight, I'm going to, again, shift my fingers away from the up and below position, above and below position, into a side position, so that I can not be touching those fins. And once I get it in there a little bit, I usually stop right there, because at that point, I can move up to the front of the nib and use this curved area of the feed to get some additional leverage. So I can stay right, away from the nib and away from the fins. I use that to kind of allow myself to push it in. So there we go. And if you do feel like the nib might be a little too far out, you can always take your fingers and grab and just kind of grab a little high on the shoulders here and give it a very gentle shove to make sure that it's that the nib didn't slide up while you were putting it in the grip section. It's not really a grip section. I guess it is a grip section. It's just not a removable grip section. And there you have it. Now I've got a broad on my TWSBI Eco. And that's how it's done, folks. Hopefully that covers what needs to be covered. I don't think that there's anything else super confusing. Just one quick reminder, if you do get an Eco or any TWSBI, this can't really be said enough. Usually they come with a wrench and some silicone grease. You don't need to take it apart right when you get it. The lubricant that's already in these things will last a very, very long time. So just because you see a wrench and some grease in there does not mean that you need to go and do anything. You might not even ever have to. It's just there just in case. So just a little disclaimer there. Apart from that, go forth, have fun, write on all that good stuff, and I hope to see you back here soon.